Hey everybody, welcome once again to the Wrestling Inc. podcast. I'm Glenn Rubenstein, talking today about SmackDown for July 4th, 2017, joined as always, as of late, by Chris Callicutt. And we got Dennis Farrell checking in with us. How's it going, guys?
Good.
Doing well.
Cool. So John Cena's back.
Yeah, he's there in what I thought was actually kind of one of the more lackluster segments of the night. Here's hot take number one for the day.
No, they really built that up. They really built that up to have him come out, give essentially the same speech, almost verbatim, that was in that video that came out last year that everybody loved so much. And then, hey, it's Rusev. Normally that would be a headline moment for SmackDown, perhaps only overshadowed by John Cena. And it all devolves into a flag versus flag match that's going to happen at Battleground. So
yeah, Dennis, you're the old school guy. Talk to us about some flag matches.
Welcome to Mid-South Wrestling at its best. Boy, oh boy. I don't even know what the rules of a flag match are. Maybe the first one to put their flag in a flag holder or last flag stand. I don't even know at this point. But I love the way John Cena tried to convince us he's not a part-time wrestler after being gone for the last, 4 months?
Yeah, I mean, he's there, he's back, but, he did a lot of name dropping. Guys that he's already knocked down, and I was waiting for it, and it did happen. He did drop Roman Reigns' name, so Mr. Free Agent, John Cena.
Roman Reigns, SummerSlam, book it.
Yep, I mean, that's makes the most sense to me. I don't really know where Reigns goes from the ambulance match, but unless he goes back to Lesnar. But I think this Joe thing has sort of turned some heads. But Cena versus Reigns at SummerSlam could happen. I would pay good money for it, $9.99 to be exact. 10.06, 10.60 count taxes, all that fun stuff. But no, I just thought it was very elementary, very by the numbers.
They played it safe.
Yeah. And to make this big hullabaloo about his return, I thought it was very, very tame. And I didn't really love it. But the biggest part I didn't like was, Rusev's back. I'm excited. Oh, it's to face John Cena to lose again to give Cena a fairly big win, probably going into a program with Reigns.
Well, they're protecting Jinder.
That they are.
Thank God. I'll be honest. I think this John Cena split brand thing is going to be bad for the WWE. They've worked really hard to protect and split the brands, and now you have John Cena come back. He's like, I'm going to show you I'm not a part-time wrestler. I'm just going to wrestle twice a week until I disappear again for my next movie. So I don't think this letting him wrestle on both brands is good. Pop up, let them give you a pitch, try to sign you to a contract, but this cannot last long if you've spent the last year trying to convince me that these are split brands and separate rosters.
Yeah, and it was kind of weird too, because on one hand, there's the part-timer angle, but there was with him saying my time is limited. It was kind of like, that's a weird thing to say.
Right.
Yeah, but two guys, I mean, I think this is kind of a ratings ploy too. Hey, John Cena's going to be on both shows. So here you go. And it kind of proves his point semi-right at the same time. But you also, it's a big ratings bump. So are they necessarily split brands now? But it also, like you said, gives him the freedom to go over to Raw, wrestle Roman Reigns. Shoot, I'd like to see a Cena Samoa Joe match at this point.
Yeah.
That could be good. But before we go to fantasy booking land, let's move on in a little bit.
Well, isn't it funny, though? Cena's on both brands. So, hey, SmackDown fans, start watching Monday Night Raw. Like, how often do you see that as the ploy? It was just weird. It was a weird segment. The flag thing, okay, I get it. It's the 4th of July. Perhaps the one day of the year, we can be all USA, and not have it be as cringy as it usually is. But to set that up for a flag match, and the flag match to happen at Battleground, the afterthought pay-per-view, the one that comes between now, the much anticipated Great Balls of Fire and SummerSlam, seemed kind of strange. But, guys, technically, I think we're missing out bearing the lead here. Technically, a flag is on a pole. So,
Very true.
It's like a double stip match,
Yeah. Russo may have somehow booked that because it's on a pole. But with that said, Did you guys notice this week especially that the word coward was used pretty much in every other promo by the face to the heel? It's like it was one of those buzzwords that the office sends to their writers and their production team, like, hey, get this in whenever you can. Because you know how WWE gets in these moods where they start using words over and over. I think coward was the word of this week.
Well, Vince McMahon has a word of the day calendar, and just every once in a while something strikes him, and he's like, oh, this is good. Send this to creative.
Mm-hmm. But if that's what all of your heel face premises are based off of, it's very formulaic, very, very much stagnant. I mean, what else can you fight for? Oh, you're a coward. You don't want to fight me. It just come up with something new.
It's interesting. Alonzo Smith in the chat's asking, will Cena show up at Great Balls of Fire? How long do you think it is till we see Cena on Raw? And why have him come back and hype the free agent thing only for him to announce his next match at the SmackDown only pay-per-view Battleground?
Very true.
I think the bigger question is, does John Cena now have 2 sets of storylines per show? Is he going to have one that carries over back and forth? Because if you're just going to have him pop on, beat someone out, and then disappear to the next show the next night, it doesn't make sense. And it doesn't really make sense to have him have 2 sets of storylines because he's going to be working double. He's going to get beat up. He's putting out twice the effort. So does that mean on the SmackDown guy is going to have an easier chance of beating him every week now?
Yeah, we really need a good split personality or evil twin storyline if we're going to carry this through. Bizarro Cena. Maybe the professor of thugonomics can return to Monday Night Raw. And, it writes itself from there.
The Bella scene.
Yeah. So AJ Styles versus Chad Gable. A match that... okay, so what's going on with Chad Gable in relation to Jason Jordan? Chris, am I missing some story that's been going around with this?
Not to my knowledge. I think they have absolutely nothing for American Alpha, so they're doing a little experimentation, and I think it's actually working in Gable's favor.
Oh, they put him over huge last night.
Yep, and if you watched Talking Smack too, AJ Styles absolutely put Gable over to the moon.
Yeah.
And I thought that was an interesting move. So, like I said on Twitter, if you're able to counter the Styles Clash into an offensive move of your own, they have a little bit of trust in you. They like you. Yeah. So, I mean, Jason Jordan really looks the part of more of a single star, but and has good work as well. But I think his time might come if they don't have anything else for the team. But Gable looked fantastic, and announcers and Styles put him over.
Big time.
Now, isn't this Gable's second match to Jordan's 0 over the last month?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what that's telling me, and just trying to be analytical here, is maybe Jordan's nursing an injury, or they're protecting him for some reason right now.
Yeah, he was in the Battle Royal, but he didn't do a whole lot. Jordan was.
I don't know.
So even if you have a little nagging injury, you could get tossed over as long as you know how to take the bump. So,
right.
Yeah, it was weird. Weird. Not in a bad way, but AJ putting him over, shaking his hand after. All those have to do is AJ to put Chad Gable up on his shoulders, walk him through the audience, and be like, this guy, I mean, it was pretty full on last night, I thought, but they were battling for the right to enter that battle royal. AJ Styles won. Went on to that later in the evening. We'll talk about the battle royal and its results. But yeah, Chad Gable is fantastic, immensely talented. Both American Alpha are. This is just an interesting little split, given how they've been completely misused on the main roster. Speaking of tag teams, maybe in jeopardy, Mojo Rawley last night, having a bit of a moment of reflection backstage as Zack Ryder comes to cheer him up and setting the stage for what was to come later with the Hype Bros might be no more. So hold on to those t-shirts, everybody. They're going to be.
Oh no. What will I ever do with my life with no Hype Bros?
The Hype Bros are kind of over though. I mean, the crowd kind of digs them. This is why it's kind of weird, right? I mean, it works. Now, granted, the tag division right now is in a little bit of disarray, but it's just a strange sort of decision now to be like, oh no, because Zack Ryder's solo career, has gone so well in recent years with his booking. And Mojo, they clearly know exactly what they want to do with him as a solo.
Since he went from super hyped to not hyped at all to mysterious guy this week. But I mean, they sort of the split pretty easily.
Oh yeah.
In the promo, but yeah, I was hoping they would Swervis and maybe Ryder would be the one that turned. That would make a little more sense to me, especially if they're building up Mojo as a face. But hey, if they want to split them up and give Mojo like this big badass heel type stuff that just runs over people, I'm cool with giving him a shot with it.
And maybe they can alternate days that each of them gives the backstage tours to kids, so that way it won't be as hard on their individual schedules.
Mojo's like the reverse or the poor man's Jinder Mahal. He wins the he wins the Andre the Giant Battle Royal and then just goes straight downhill. I've never seen someone win it and get nothing out of it as much as Mojo has.
But he had the friendship with Rob Gronkowski. That was the thing. I mean, that's pretty much where his pluses lied. I mean, there was a few more minuses, but that's where his strengths lied. He could get the hookup. He could get mainstream attention.
He could I think that's tickets to a Patriots game.
That's very true as well.
Hey, WWE, let's find the douchiest NFL player around and try to ride his back on the Sports Center. Yeah, that works.
Oh, come on. There's got to be one or two. I don't even follow football, but there's got to be one or two douchier than
I'm
Gronk.
a Patriots guy. And there's not many more. I don't know if there's many more human beings douchier than him. Wow.
That's saying something. Well, maybe we can go to another sport. Maybe the Laval family or the Ball family, pardon me, is free to do more segments, Oh, God. Still trying to get over that whole thing from Monday Night Raw 2 weeks ago. What did you think of that, Dennis?
I liked it. I did. Hear me out. I don't like the family, I'm not the originator of this thought, but I bought in. And if you're even a little bit of a basketball fan or you've seen what Papa Ball has been doing, he's been doing WWE better than WWE has been doing it the last couple months. So it only made sense to throw him on. It went a little bit haywire. I thought it was entertaining, and it turned two douchey people into somewhat of an entertaining segment if you could get past a few of the low spots in it.
Well, speaking of douchey people, last night, the Carmella-bration last night with Carmella and James Ellsworth. James Ellsworth being fined $10,000, suspended for 30 days without pay. And if he
that's 90% of his salary, guys. 90% of his salary.
Yeah, and it's a bad scene in storyline when everyone's question in the show and on Talking Smack is, does James Ellsworth have $10,000? It's really bad in kayfabe if that's the first thing everybody asks for how they're writing the character. But if he violates these rules, Carmella gives up the contract. So we had that last night. What do you think this means, Chris? No Ellsworth on TV for 30 days, or you think he's gonna, show up in a sporting like a bandito mustache, in like a terrible disguise?
I'll go option B, just for entertainment's sake, because you have to give the guy a little bit of credit. He went from complete jobber to being so over that he got 3 matches with AJ Styles to now sort of maybe landing in his little niche, his little niche, you might say, as an annoying heel manager. And actually doing a pretty decent job at it, I think. It's given Carmella a little new life, even though Carmella has proved the last few weeks that she can hold her own on the microphone too. But just for entertainment value, I don't think they're going to completely write off Ellsworth over the next 30 days.
How about you, Dennis?
I hope he shows up. I would love to see the Carmella having to give the briefcase angle up after the first historic ladies ladder match. But what they're doing with the briefcase right now is pretty interesting, whether you like it or not. The fact that her reign of having this briefcase will be in turmoil basically until she gives it up, and that they're finding new ways to kind of keep both these guys on the naughty list, on Daniel Bryan's naughty list. And I don't know. I would not be shocked to see this whole blow-off end up with Daniel Bryan in some kind of physical altercation with James Ellsworth. It seems like it's going towards that.
If this is what brings Daniel Bryan back in the ring, that's just Vince McMahon just punishing the internet wrestling community. Just like...
Now, to me, they sort of dropped the whole Becky Lynch angle with this. I thought they would go more with that, and if they were going to have a match with Ellsworth, I thought it would be with Becky Lynch, and it could actually probably be kind of fun. But it kind of astounded me that they completely seemed to drop that this week.
Yeah. Weird that Becky was a no-show last night, that we didn't see half the roster. It's very strange. Very strange indeed. Speaking of which, Dennis, how's Lana's return to the ring working out for her?
Here we go.
You know what? This is my big rant. When she first came back, I threw out a tweet that said, "Uh-oh, here comes the burying of Lana." And I probably have had more tweets from people saying, "I'm an idiot. They're not burying Lana. What are you talking about?" And where are we now in less than a month? She's had 2 title shots put together, still lasted shorter than CM Punk's MMA debut, which is not. Ooh. Yeah, I mean, if you look at the time on them both, this is from the outset, from when she showed up and they shushed her away like she was nothing for the ladder match. She comes out and weakly sweeps Naomi's leg, and Naomi has to basically beg to have a match. They buried her from the outset. It just didn't make sense.
Oh man,
it still doesn't. It's a burying.
It doesn't make sense for them to build her up to that extent with the promos and everything. Give her a brand new gimmick. She had the very first match was a competitive match, but the last 2 were 30-second squashes. One by pinfall, technically, even though the shoulder was up, that made the 3rd match. But now a very clear submission tap out. But then you had sort of the fallout after the match where Tamina comes out and almost like, "I choose you, Lana, to be under my wing," and gets up, takes him back. But to me, is that sort of a reset for Lana? Do we get almost like a reboot within the first month to where Tamina can be the muscle, Lana can be the mouthpiece, and they can just work together? And hey, it gets them both on TV for a while.
It's a solid gimmick. I'd watch that. But it was a strange moment. The way Tamina came out, I was like, "Come on."
It's like, "Come on,
yeah.
You're good."
Yeah, that was a weird moment.
Yeah, listen, guys. I'll be honest. I was excited for Lana with the promos. They built it up, and then I was even kind of excited for the first match, and it just went downhill. And I don't know if I had to compare it, it'd be almost like if James Ellsworth and Paul Heyman had a baby, it'd be Lana right now, because you just don't know. She's getting beat up left and right, but she's a great talker. So, maybe this in-ring competitive thing should end pretty quick, and she should go back to managing Rusev and Tamina.
Maybe. It was an odd end to this saga. But not quite as odd as what Baron Corbin was wearing backstage last night when he attacked Shinsuke Nakamura. If you haven't watched it, if you haven't checked it out yet, it's not polka dots. There apparently are patterns there. I'm wondering if he was dressed up maybe at a family barbecue, had to kind of look respectable or something on the 4th. But look, Baron and Nakamura, I think we've all seen that coming. They built that up. It was interesting last night that was the placeholder. That was the tease to have Baron attacking him backstage. But yeah, talk about out of character with how he was dressed. We've not seen that side of him before.
Yeah, not quite as leathery last night.
I mean, it was just odd. It was just like, what is Baron Corbin wearing? Now that I wanted to give fashion advice, but I mean, he's got a shtick, man, and that was not in his wardrobe for his character. Dennis, what do you think about Nakamura versus Corbin? Are you excited to see that develop into something?
As much as anything on SmackDown right now, I think it could be great. I think if this was on Raw, it might have been the second to last segment of the night. It has that kind of build up to it. Unfortunately, it's on the small SmackDown show, so it feels smaller than it should, because I think you have Nakamura, who has had some good matches. He's not wowed us as of late. You have a guy with Baron Corbin, who they're trying to convince us could be a contender even with this briefcase, who has not quite lived up to what he's been. I think this could be a battle of, who's going to go over in the future, because both these guys have been guys that have been all right, have not been MVPs or wowed our socks off. And Now they put them both together. Hopefully they can catch, lightning in a bottle and propel them both in the future programs.
Yeah, Shinsuke might have to hop up a little extra high to hit Kinshasa on Baron. He's a tall man. So
yep, but hey, for me, guys, this Corbin has held his own in the last couple of feuds in the ring. Especially had some really good matches with AJ Styles, and even the Ziggler feud that he had a few months ago was pretty good. I think this is another step up for Corbin to work with Nakamura. So he's kind of going to get the rub as the heel here. Working with Nakamura, that pretty much puts you on a second level. But Nakamura has been sort of just softballing it in a little bit for me on the main roster. So I hope we get a little bit more physical, a little bit more focused Nakamura in this one. But I don't see why the match couldn't be pretty good.
Baron is on my most improved list. I mean, I think, I've been saying this the last couple of months. He looks like he belongs there now. For a long time, he looked like, not a kid, but he looked like he was sort of, boy amongst men. And now he's holding his own. So I think Shinsuke, more power to him. This could be good. It's just, man, when you're in a feud and Corbin's the one that's got to do all the talking, like, I don't know. I'm a little, worried about that.
Well, that was my fear last night. I was like, oh my God, they have an interviewer and Shinsuke Nakamura again. Have they not learned their lesson? And then thank goodness out of left field, here comes Baron Corbin with the attack. I'm like, oh, for once in my life, I am super glad to see this.
Yeah.
So in a moment, we're going to talk about the rap battle from last night, what many are calling the high point of last night's SmackDown. But first, want to take a moment, give some love to the sponsor of this episode, Dollar Shave Club. Get high-quality blades and amazing shave butter delivered right to your door for an incredible smooth shave. Dollar Shave Club is the smarter choice, people. Get a great shave at a great price, conveniently delivered right to your door. It's an awesome life hack and a no-brainer. You don't have to schlep to the store to get those cheap disposable razors that give you a cheap shave, cut your face up, or spend a fortune with those gimmicky shaving tech razors that you clearly do not need. I'm telling you, when I clean up my beard, I use my Dollar Shave Club executive razor with the Dr. Carver's shave butter, and the blade just gently glides, giving me such a smooth shave. You've heard us talk about it. Raj Giri, Mr. Babyface himself, who's off doing Top Guy stuff this week, he's talked about the great shave that he gets using Dr. Carver's shave butter. You've heard me talk about it. I love it because when cleaning up my beard, I can see through the shave butter exactly what I'm shaving. It's not like that lathery foam where I'm just shaving in the dark, and next thing you know, the beard is gone and I'm down to a mustache, then down to just a little Van Dyke there at the end because I took so much of it off. No. With Dr. Carver shave butter, I can see exactly what I'm doing. That blade gives me such a smooth shave, and I absolutely love it. You too can make the smarter choice and switch over to Dollar Shave Club. And again, you're going to get that shave butter, which is great because it gives you that precise shave and helps prevent ingrown hairs and fights razor bumps. So for a limited time, new members can get their first month of the executive razor with a tube of Dr. Carver shave butter for only $5, and that includes free shipping. After that, razors are just a few bucks a month. That's a $15 value for only $5. And in your first monthly box, you get an awesome weighted handle, full cassette of 4 cartridges, and a tube of the aforementioned Dr. Carver shave butter. After your first month, replacement cartridges ship automatically at the regular price, and there are no hidden fees, no commitments. Cancel anytime you like, but you can only get this offer exclusively at dollarshaveclub.com/INC. That's dollarshaveclub.com/INC, and we thank them for sponsoring the podcast.
Hey, quick question, guys. Let's go back for just like a half second. The glowing women's title.
Oh, yes.
Like or dislike?
I'm thinking they're going to keep that belt on her for a while longer. The effects department doesn't put in that kind of work only for her to drop the title.
Dennis?
I feel like the same people who hated John Cena's spinner belt is going to hate this. If you like the Cena spinner belt, you'll like the glow. I like it only because it shows character. I like the John Cena spinner belt because it kind of customized that title to the person that holds it. So I'm always kind of a fan of it, especially back with, let's say, Ultimate Warrior, when he had the different color straps for the Intercontinental Championship belt. I really popped for that, and this is kind of what it feels like to me.
The John Cena spinner belt, now, that was actually, believe it or not, part of what got me back paying attention to wrestling in that era, and here's why. The spinner belt sent a message that this was not the champ you were used to in the WWE. At the time, it was still very current. It was very now. And you have to remember, it was at a time when Hogan had been back around. Flair had been back around. Piper had been back around. You had the WWE, felt like post Stone Cold and The Rock, feeling like almost it was almost buckling under the weight of its legacy. So to have a guy that, you know, was doing his own rap entrance music, who was releasing albums, and that was claiming the title and really putting his own touch on it like that, I think really sent a message for the WWE. And it's not to put it in, you know, this great grand historical context, but part of what I loved about it was it said that we're doing something different now. With the glowing belt, I don't think it's nearly as profound of a statement, but I think that it's cool they're letting her customize it. And I think maybe she's going to be the face of SmackDown Women's Division for a little bit longer.
I'm okay as long as they keep it on her for a while.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to put this much work into it to have her drop it anytime soon. So did a little Twitter poll last night on that same question, and most everybody seemed to be really positive about it. So I think everybody sort of has the same feelings as you, Dennis. If it gives that personality of the person who's holding it. It gives it a personal touch, and you can relate the title to the person rather than vice versa. It's the age-old question: does the title make the man, or does the man make the title?
Well, in this case, it looks like Naomi literally made that title. So.
Very true. Apparently 7 lighting stage areas on the title, according to Naomi on Talking Smack. Yeah, and looking to add more.
Everyone in the chat likes it, and as Kirk Schindler in the chat points out, they're going to sell a load of those glowing belts on the WWE shop when they go on sale. So, you know, WWE never wanted to sleep on a merch opportunity. Last night, I got to say, people, I was wrong. Last week I said, Usos versus the New Day in a rap battle. This is going to be good. And lo and behold, it was. I thought it was pretty good last night. I mean, not the best thing I've seen on SmackDown Live, but this could have just been painful and bad and terrible. My expectations were so low for this. I really enjoyed it. Dennis, what did you think of the Usos and the New Day trading rhymes, moderated by Wale last night?
I was scared because, boy, the Usos have been pretty hot on that mic for the last 2 months. And I really thought, and I was as great as New Day can be on the mic, sometimes their shtick gets old quick. And I was worried that this is going to be very one-sided and some cracks would begin to show in maybe the New Day characters. But they did a very good job of taking a segment that a lot of us probably were not very interested in, like a rap battle, really. Can you do something else with them? And made it kind of enjoyable, kind of, as far as I'll go. I was moderately entertained.
Okay.
Glowing recommendation.
Yeah.
Chris?
2 things for me. When you have celebrity guests, a lot of times you can tell whether or not they are WWE fans. Okay. Wale came in here with a Wolfpack shirt on. That's plus 1 for him. And then you could tell that he was in his element up there in the ring. He moderated it very well. You could tell he knew what the product was. And when you have a celebrity that knows what they're doing, they know the product, they know the guys, it makes that segment a lot better. I like that each team had their own little crew with them. I thought that was a neat little addition. And you know what? I think the Usos may have laid the old SmackDown on New Day. As far as material goes, now New Day got a few shots in, but the one about the aforementioned video footage evidence with Xavier Woods was mentioned, and I said, call the fight. Those guys have families, darn it. And that was that shot. Okay, that little joke was edited out of the YouTube version of that. So apparently it was not approved beforehand, but it got the biggest pop of the night. And it also, this whole segment got more Twitter interaction with me than the Joe and Brock Lesnar segment, if that tells you anything.
Do you think that was Vince's idea? Or do you think Vince blessed that? I don't think New Day would have gone off script and just dropped that on their own last night.
Well, that would have been the Usos dropping it on Xavier there on that particular one.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was approved because they did delete it out of the YouTube video. The Roman Reigns shot, so you wouldn't think that would have been approved either if they want to make Roman Reigns this golden child. And Obviously, we know their family and whatnot, but there were some good good shots thrown. I enjoyed it a lot, and I mean a lot more than I thought I was going to.
I'm gonna guess the conversation backstage is, all right, guys, you go out there and make this entertaining. Nothing's off limits. Have some fun with it. And the Usos probably took that as in, oh, it's on now. We're gonna fit this in somewhere. When they probably thought that, so I'm gonna guess maybe a misinterpretation of the rules in order to fit that in without punishment.
Maybe.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, it was a pro wrestling finish because the Usos broke the rules by making contact with New Day, and then Wale threw the match out. But so I mean, you still had elements of pro wrestling in the segment, but overall, I thought it was super entertaining.
It's good, but yeah, you can tell, man. There's something about that when you get someone like Wale that clearly is comfortable on the mic, comfortable in front of a crowd, knows the product. I mean, if only every celebrity guest star was that good on WWE programming,
Yep.
Yeah, I can't wait for Summerfest.
Oh man.
Memories.
Mr. Jeremy Pivens.
Yeah, hey, Jeremy Piven was like the high bar compared to some of the people that we've had.
I know.
I mean, I remember that episode clearly. Like, Jeremy Piven got really involved in that episode, like a Hugh Jackman level of involvement in his episode. Thank God they don't do that crap anymore. At least not on that level. So Randy Orton versus Aiden English. Speaking of burials, what's up with Aiden English, man? Like, this is just... Oh.
This was genius. It's who's the absolute opposite of a rap battle? An operatic Aiden English. I thought that was genius booking to me. It's just the little things that pop me like that. It seems very smart writing that they would put him out there. But before, like, they did the split screen, right? English was on top during the split screen 90% of the time. Orton didn't get his shots in until after the commercial break was over. So they made it about 3 minutes longer than I thought they were going to.
Yeah.
And English actually got the win, technically, via disqualification.
Yeah. It's just...
I think I could have done without this. This didn't really help either one of these guys progress in anything. I would have been more all right if they had, you did what they did last week, where Aiden was out about to sing. Randy comes out, RKO's him, pushes him out. It maybe brings Aiden English in a little bit into this Jinder Mahal storyline to prolong it a little bit more. But, to me, that was just a waste of time. Didn't progress anything. It wasn't horrible. Wasn't great. And let's be honest, right now, I'm just biding my time until they usher Randy Orton out and put him in a different storyline, a different part of the show, and elevate someone else that deserves to be in a main event. Because Randy Orton right now is like watching paint dry for me. He really is. It's just not that exciting.
Well, and then they followed it up with Jinder Mahal, where if you weren't paying close attention, were they just running video from last week or the week before or 2 weeks ago? I mean, Jinder came out and said the exact same thing in the exact same cadence, in the exact same way. I mean, why? Like, they kind of put over the Punjabi prison match for Battleground, but I don't feel like, oh my God, the anticipation is crazy. This is like the antithesis of Samoa Joe and Brock Lesnar in terms of how you hype something.
Yeah, but to me, I mean, this is sort of, they don't really trust Jinder behind the live microphone yet, so I think they give him limited material. I think this is actually on purpose. Whether it's smart or not, I think it's on purpose to hide his flaws on the microphone because he's just not quite there yet. But Randy Orton has actually seemed a little bit more enthused the past few weeks than I think he has in a few years because he's out there actually yelling. He's getting the crowd hyped. He's just not going through the motions. And my coolest thing about this whole ordeal is now Orton has made the toss to the table like he did to the Singh brothers a weekly thing because he did it to English this week too.
Can I just say, and this is just my opinion, I think that WWE missed a golden opportunity when they started with the Singh brothers putting their hands on Randy Orton's dad and then kind of doing the same things to Randy that he used to do. And they even kind of mentioned, hey, you used to do this stuff. And even Randy was like, oh, that used to be me. I really feel like if you were to drop the you hate me because I'm a foreigner and go with the I'm punishing you for your past sins and I'm going to do everything to you that you've done, kick family members and blah, 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 really take Jinder to a different atmosphere of a heel level that he is right now. Now he's whiny. Vengeance and raining hell down on you would be something different and great, I think.
I think with Jinder they could do something to really spice this up.
That's all I get, Glenn. Is
it's good.
Come on, come on.
Look, anything to change this up with Randy would be welcome. Anything at all. But I don't think people are looking to this for nuance. I don't think. I mean, Jinder could come out there and be like, "Guys, I'm from Canada. I drive a Ford. People call me Raj." He could just be out there and be like, "But you see me, and you have all these stereotypes." Jinder could come out there and give the most nuanced promo, and people would just be like, "Boo, USA, USA." I mean, it's a lost effort at this point. I think because they've built it up so much.
You're wasting it once. You only have one time with this "you hate me because I'm a foreigner" thing.
Yeah.
And you're blowing it on his very first title run against Randy Orton, where you don't even really need to push that at all.
And they used it with Rusev just about 90 minutes before Mahal's promo.
Yeah.
So
on a kinder note, Ty Dillinger backstage being interviewed by Tanae Young. This, I went the full spectrum on this one through, oh my God, they're really not doing this, to the end, like, oh my God, that was brilliant. Chris, what did you think of Breezango, man, just taking it to new levels?
Oh my God, man, these guys, I love them so much. I didn't realize the construction guy was Fandango until like halfway through, and then he slipped over and saw the mustache. I'm like, dang it, they got me. Because Ty kept looking behind him, and Fandango kept just coming a little bit closer each time. But man, these guys can play off any sort of simple comedy and make it into absolute genius. I love this sort of slapstick type of stuff. It's when it's done well. You've seen WWE try it with different people, and it's falling completely flat. These guys, I mean, they do so well with what they're given. And heck, I even think they probably write half the stuff that they do.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, they're putting their efforts here as opposed to in the ring. And I think normally that's a real gamble, but with these guys, it's paying off. They're creative. They're willing to take risks. I mean, how many other performers would do, short of Gold Dust, how many other performers would do what Tyler has been willing to do with, putting on a dress and a wig and going out there and just owning it, If
he keeps going, he's going to go through in the entire women's division. He's got Bella and Renee Young, and who's next? We'll see.
Yeah.
Santino and Perry Saturn were those might have been the only two I can remember off the top of my head. But, Glenn, we talk about this on every podcast. They walk a fine line every week that this could either get really boring and really over the top really quick. And they walk that fine line every week. And I keep waiting for it to happen. And they're doing different things with the same story and the same characters that they're given to keep it fresh, really. And boy, I'd like to see this pay off in a title run somehow or something else. But it's keeping me entertained, and it works perfect. I don't think it would work this good on Raw. I think Raw has too big show feel for it, and it works perfect on SmackDown.
Yeah. And I think it's them. I think it's the WWE for a change, really giving them some latitude and freedom to do these things and try some stuff. This isn't like Sandow, where they just, pulled the rug out from under him and took him off TV. And in fact, I'd even go further. I would say that if the WWE, and I don't think they would do this, but if they did future endeavor these guys, I think they could bring this over, a similar shtick over to, or just even the similar attitude over to Global Force Wrestling, and probably boost their ratings quite a bit, to give them some creativity and runway. Because I think there's something about having a duo that just creates more of that energy and that kinetic, feeling about these segments. But I think it's great. They followed, so it was weird that they kind of followed up with 2 comedy things back to back. By the way, Ty Dillinger, good to see him getting some screen time playing the straight man in this last night. But the Canellises.
Have we figured that out yet, guys? What is the multiple version of a Canellis?
That's like the Canelli, you know.
Okay, there you go.
No, they were backstage. Camera, that weird production error last night.
Yeah, that was weird, and they played it off so well on Talking Smack. For those who watched it, it was our power of love, or somebody, it might have been Renee, that said that their power of love just knocked out the camera's power. So I mean, they kept talking through it, so kudos to them for keeping the segment going. But camera guy needed to get back there ASAP.
Yeah, and then it turned into a little showcase for Sami Zayn, putting over Huey Lewis and the News. Setting up what's probably going to be what you think, Mike and Sammy at Battleground. That's a pre-show match if I've ever heard one.
Yeah, probably so. They've got to introduce Mike to the main audience. So pre-show, a lot of people that don't pay for the network are going to watch that. So how many times do we think that Sami Zayn is going to get beaten by Mike Kanellis?
Ooh, tough one. I could see it happening though. But I like how they're setting him up in these segments. I think it's good. I mean, clearly, I know we talk about Sami Zayn a lot, and we get into it.
It wouldn't be anything because our host is Glenn Rubenstein, but
I really like Sami Zayn. Did you guys watch the Kevin Owens DVD preview on the network?
I have not got to that yet.
It's very good because the clips they showed, it might as well be a Sami Zayn DVD for all the indie stuff they're talking about there. But look, I mean, they're kind of putting him in that position now. I know Matt Morgan doesn't like the term jobber, but Sammy's kind of becoming the jobber to the stars guy. I mean, we saw in the Battle Royal last night.
We'll call him a gatekeeper. We'll call him a gatekeeper.
But you know what I mean? Like, he's a guy they believe in. I mean, how many times have we seen that he is not the last man standing, but the second to last man standing? He's the one that's the credible wrestler who they put in these scenarios. He's not the top guy, but he's the guy that's there to round it out and make the top guy look credible.
And he sells like $1 million, so he'll make anybody that he's with look like $1 million.
You know what? If I didn't hear the first 8 seconds of this conversation, I would have said, "Oh, you guys are talking about Dolph Ziggler."
Oh,
that's who he is. He's the new generation Dolph Ziggler. He's got the skill. He's got the talent. He oversells a little bit too much, which makes his opponent look great and not so much him. He's still young enough to break out of this. He's about to get typecast, and I'm scared for Sami Zayn. Guys, this has Dolph Ziggler career written all over it. You can granted he was a former champion, but for like 9 minutes. We're not quite
there yet. He's not feuding with Sin Cara. I mean, come on,
he's getting there. This we're looking right into his future. He can change it. Tone it down. Don't sell so much. I'm not saying, don't sell at all, but don't oversell a kick or a punch to the head like Dolph Ziggler does.
I don't think that's what's holding Sami Zayn back. If someone's telling him to tone it down backstage, it's like, Sammy, could you just come across a little less Jewish? Just a little, just a tad. Like, dude, you're from Montreal. I know Seinfeld's your favorite show, man, but come on, just take it down a notch.
But the neurotic innocent, but the neurotic innocent Sammy, I mean, it just draws you right to him. Is it going to win him world title? No. They're not going to have that type of personality, that type of character win a world championship. But is it going to pigeonhole him, like you said, as a gatekeeper, as a fun character that people can gravitate to? Yes. I mean, there's a ceiling to it, but it's fun nonetheless.
I'd like to see him become like a Cody Rhodes, where he had the mask on and he kind of had that little bit of instability about him. If you guys remember, was it 7 years ago or something like that? Maybe that kind of character where he goes from being just a little neurotic to being paranoid and a little crazy could make Sami Zayn a good-looking heel here.
I think what they're going to do, it's similar to how it was with Bayley in NXT before she won the title. I think with Sami, they'll keep him at this level, and then they'll do one good run where they put the belt on him, because that will be a good story. To have him have that comeuppance and that triumph. But yeah, I mean, they're using him right now like high-level enhancement talent. And I think that's working to a degree. He has his fans. He clearly has his fan base. But what's interesting, and I encourage everyone to get the Kevin Owens DVD if you can, although I don't know if you guys saw this, the reports that it's sold out. The Kevin Owens DVD, like you can't get it on Amazon. They're telling you it's going to be 2 weeks.
Nice.
A lot of stores anecdotally or so that. Now it might be because, again, they might have thought they weren't going to sell very many and didn't print up enough of it. But I encourage people to watch it because what's so interesting to me is you watch it and you go, okay, the whole thing is people being like, oh, Owens, that'll never work in the WWE. And then boom, he was the first, the first Universal Champion to have a run, technically the second Universal Champion, but they did put him at the top of the company. It's interesting to see that he overcame all that to get there. And then with Sami Zayn, it's people look at him and it's the opposite. It's like everyone thinks he can go. He has all the parts. I mean, in NXT, it worked out very well for him, but now in the main roster, it's like, no, just doesn't have that it factor. Maybe it's that confidence,
I think what we're getting away here is how bad Mike Kanellis is.
Oh, there's nothing there.
This is horrible.
Maria's still there. She's got a personality, and she did well on Talking Smack too. But Mike was just kind of regurgitating the bullet points, and he just seems somewhat lost to me.
I agree. It was every week. It gets worse and worse. I cannot wait until he's off my television screen. And I didn't mind him in Impact. I thought he was actually pretty good in Impact. And here, it's just whatever they're doing with this Power of Love thing, it's like a rehashed version of Brother Love, and I don't want anything to do with it.
Bad. It's a bad gimmick.
Yeah.
Yep.
So let's talk about the Battle Royal last night.
Yes.
To get that contender. So Sami Zayn versus Connor versus Victor versus Sin Cara versus Epico versus AJ Styles versus Luke Harper, Dolph Ziggler, Ty Dillinger, Eric Rowan, Jason Jordan, Mojo Rawley, Zack Ryder, Tyler Breeze, and Fandango. Was there any other credible choice? I mean, really, aside from AJ Styles winning this?
No, but you had the correct final three. Because you had Sammy there as, like you said, the credible guy who's won a lot, is very popular. You had Ty Dillinger, the up-and-comer that's been off TV for a while, and, who's still super over, if you were listening. And, Styles, we never thought after that first match with Styles that Owens and Styles had, that was going to be it. So, I think it was a smart move to go ahead and book another match between those two.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I feel like since it just happened, it is weird that they're doing it again, but I'm sure it'll be a great match. Dennis, what'd you think?
Yeah, there was no mystery here who was going to win this. Let's be honest. We sat back and we said, all right, it's just a matter of getting to AJ Styles, and they got to AJ. He won it. No surprise whatsoever.
Yeah.
But a couple more highlights. You had the Mojo turn on Ryder. So that was, we had that. And then we had basically Fandango and Breeze as the new Kofi Kingston save for Battle Royals, which I thought was kind of fun.
Yeah. Okay, Chris, reload. The audience is saying your audio is garbled as well. So let's talk about that, Dennis, while Chris reloads. The Hype Bros
sounds good.
May be no more after what we saw last night. Do you think that's just a blip in the road? Do you think they're going to reconcile? What lays ahead for these two crazy kids?
I think for the tag team division, they need to keep them around. It's a weak division to begin with. You have American Alpha that can't even make it to TV in a tag team capacity. Even if you kept them around as just another Breezango, I'd be okay with that. But unfortunately, you're going to split them up and throw them into a pool of mid-tier wrestlers that they would do more as a tag team right now.
Yeah. I feel like the mid-tier is very crowded on SmackDown Live.
It is. And, why are we recycling something that they're doing right now on Raw with Enzo and Cash? If you're going to split them up, at least wait until this is over. before you give me the same storyline at the same time on a different show.
Yeah, at least give Enzo his own Miztourage, as it were, if you're going to shuttle him out of a gimmick because it's too similar to something on SmackDown Live. But no, I thought the right guys were there at the end with Ty, Sami, and AJ. And that's kind of what I mean. I think, with Sami, they're booking him as the also-ran right now because he's very credible in that role. He comes across as the guy that, I don't know if you had it last night, but, you think for a second, oh, maybe they're actually going to let Sami win this one. It's kind of like they've done now the last 4 times he's been in this situation. You think, oh, maybe he's going to. And no, he's not. Of course he's not. It's Sami Zayn.
And the same thing with Ty. I really thought when they first started with the Land of Opportunity and gave Jinder a chance, you and I both said on one of the podcasts, they need to give Jinder a lengthy title run for us to really believe that anything can happen on SmackDown Live. And they've really started to foster this feeling of, could Ty have won this? Oh my gosh. So I've got to give them kudos that they're at least starting to make us believe that anything can happen on the show.
Yeah, it's kind of like Charlie Brown should thank Lucy for saying, hey, you really made me believe for a second that I was going to be able to kick that football before you pulled it away from me. Right. That's the key. You got to sell it. So, yeah, I think AJ versus Owens is going to be great. I worry about these repetitive feuds, though, carrying us through multiple pay-per-views with seeing the same guys together. And it wouldn't be such a big deal, except the way you're alternating it now. And so it's not like we're going, oh, hey, 2 or 3 months with the same guys together. Now it's like 5 or 6 months to go over the course of 3 pay-per-view feuds. I don't think this will be done before SummerSlam. I think it's going to, I don't think we're going to, do you think we're going to AJ versus Nakamura for SummerSlam, or do you think they're going to let Owens and AJ drag out all the way?
Here's where I disagree. I love the old school storyline that lasts 6 to 8 months. And whether they do it right or not, at least they're fostering something like that. The problem, here's my complaint. The problem with the WWE now, even opposed to back in the Attitude Era, is you don't remember a lot of these storylines. People go through 2, maybe even 3 storylines a month now, and you don't really have time to digest it and appreciate it for what it was. At least back in the Attitude Era, and maybe shortly after that, when they were still doing 6-month storylines, you really got to savor, explore, and you'll always remember The Rock and Stone Cold, even though it was not that long of a storyline. Mm-hmm. It was great, and they need to foster that again. Where unfortunately, I'm sad that they're wasting Owens and AJ on the U.S. title, but I think this could have been a great storyline that lasts all summer long into SummerSlam or WrestleMania even.
I'm going to say this. Tell me what you guys think of this. I think 75% of professional wrestling storytelling, not the matches themselves, right? But the feuds of the story, 75% works really, really well when you look at it in hindsight as an edited together compilation clip. Of saying, like, where you watch something like the Monday Night Wars, you watch a retrospective, 75% of it works really well in that context because you're seeing the beats, you're seeing the high points. But where it doesn't work is week to week, when you're trying to tune in each week and really feel like you're getting it paid off, you're getting new wrinkles, new layers, new elements that are taking you through the journey. I think about 25% of wrestling works on a week-to-week basis for the stories, but I feel like when you look at it in the grand scheme of things, it makes sense. Week to week, I think it can get a little tedious.
Chris, what do you think?
Go, Chris is muted.
Oh, I'll say this. I kind of disagree with you that number is way too low. I would give you 50-50, depending on the storylines and how long it lasts and who is behind the storylines. You look back at the Attitude Era, and not all those storylines were great. No, you could probably point out 15, 20 storylines that will really stick in your memory bank as what drives that Attitude Era. I think now, if I were to say, you two, give me your 5 favorite storylines over the last 5 years, you couldn't really pick one out. You'd have to think about it because there's just so many that hit you. So
I was going to say the last 5 years. I was going to say you're really digging from a shallow well there.
But it's that you don't have that time to cultivate it. And sure, hindsight is phenomenal, where you can look back and see a year-long storyline in 15 minutes, because over 6 month storyline, there are going to be some bad segments and great segments, but at least they were taking chances and doing different things, and some of them may not have been great, but it wasn't, you had one bad segment. Let's take a look at Alexa Bliss and Bayley. That whole rivalry was summed up into one bad "this is your life" segment, and that's what we'll always remember from it, because that storyline was so hit and move on.
See, well, I say to take the flip side of it, because I went back and was like, I'm going to rewatch some of the Attitude Era. I have fond memories of this. After watching the Monday Night Wars, I'm going to go back, watch that episode where DX debuted. And I went back and started watching it and was like, oh, well, all those parts they showed the clips from absolutely were great, some great punchlines, some great moments. And the rest of it was kind of like, well, this is really aged in an uncomfortable way. And I feel that way every time I go back and revisit some of those episodes, is that when you look at it on a pure, microscopic level, it doesn't work as well. But when you look at it in the big picture, it all comes together and coalesces nicely.
But when you were watching it live, you didn't go, this was the worst episode ever. When you go back and you see what they've done, maybe it doesn't stand the test of time, but will always be your favorite because you were watching it back then.
I was flipping back through channels, man. I had 2 VHS tapes that I was trying to fast forward through to get through everything on a Monday night,
Glenn, you're turning into Eeyore here. But come on.
Oh, man.
Yeah, no, but there's part of that too. What's funny? We had that before on the podcast. What was it when Matt Morgan was talking about that? And he was like, I thought it was okay. And I was like, what about this? He's like, oh, I fast forwarded through that because he's watching on a little bit of a time delay.
Yeah.
There is something to be said. Like when you sit there and painstakingly watch, and I underline the word pain, when you painstakingly watch every segment and every moment, it can be quite painful at times, not having that ability to skip ahead based on something you're not feeling.
And I think we were forced to remember a lot of things because we didn't, wrestling back in the day really was appointment viewing, if you really think about it. You had to pick between WWE or WCW, WWF. You couldn't really watch both unless you taped them. But there were a lot of households, if you really think about back in the day, really had to make a decision. Am I going to be a WWF household or a WCW household?
Yep, I was a WCW guy. Hopefully, I'm back, guys. Hopefully you can hear me. Good deal. Fantastic. But Glenn, back to your point, WWE production, bullet point type of video packages make those feuds seem awesome. Because that is one of the best things that WWE does. But like you said, the week-to-week thing, there's always a little plot hole here and there. There's like, wait a minute, this happened last week. Why would this happen this week? And that kind of stuff. But the video production crew can make, anything seem legitimate if they give it a good enough try.
Yeah. No, and that's what I'm saying is that, they're still thinking about this in a pay-per-view mentality and the idea that these are the big events. These are the things we're building towards. And so maybe a way to put a point on this is that with what Chris just said, they look at it as saying like, yeah, you're going to do this. And yeah, you're going to do that. And yeah, this might not work. But as long as you get this one line in, we got our video package at the pay-per-view to recap it, hitting all those strong beats, So I do think on a level, we are paying greater attention than the more casuals, but the casuals seem to be the ones that are leaving in droves. So is it time that they start rewarding the more hardcore audiences? I don't think their booking suggests that, or else John Cena would not be a free agent if this was all about the hardcore fans at this point. That being said, Dennis, what was better this week, Raw or SmackDown?
SmackDown. I'll give it to SmackDown this week. I mean, Raw really only has 2 things I'm kind of caring about right now. Sadly, the Enzo Amore thing is one of them, and the Samoa Joe is by far the best thing going on both shows, but it's not enough to make me say Raw is better than SmackDown this week.
Chris, how about you?
This is one week that I actually think is kind of a toss-up. And the only reason I'll give SmackDown the minor benefit is because it's 2 hours instead of 3. There was a lot less filler. Everything seemed to mean at least a little something. And even the filler, like the comedy, was spot on. So I give SmackDown the slight edge this week.
I'm going to go against and say Raw was better, specifically for the matches. I mean, we had Jinder versus Apollo Crews. Somehow that turned into, or not Jinder, pardon me, Jinder, Braun versus Apollo Crews. I think Braun managed to turn that into something special. We had Neville just looking amazing. And on top of that, we had more from Samoa Joe and Brock Lesnar. So I don't know. I thought there was some really good stuff on Raw this week. I thought that even though for a 3-hour show, I thought it just had some more memorable moments. SmackDown, I liked some of the storytelling last night, but I don't think there was enough focus on the in-ring action to really make that pop in comparison to what Raw did. Talking Smack last night, did you guys watch it?
I didn't.
Oh, more from the Canelli. They came out, gave more of their. So if you want to know more what's going on there, they really laid it all out for you. With that happening, Daniel Bryan explaining why Sweet Beats was not with the Usos last night in the freestyle rap battle. And Naomi came out and showed off the belt with the lights.
Naomi, when not booked as snatch you ball type of girl, is actually extremely well spoken. Let her do that. I mean, like, don't stop with the gangster two-liners and let her hit the high points. Let her actually talk. She's very well spoken, and she can stay within her character and just not turn it up to 11 and still be very good. I thought she did a phenomenal job on Talking Smack last night.
Yeah, all in all, I thought it was good. So cool, everybody. So Sunday, Great Balls of Fire. You guys excited?
I am. It took me a while to get there because when they first started talking about the name and the logo, I really thought this is going to be a hacky pay-per-view. But they have really made it somewhat interesting for me. So yeah, I'm gonna watch excitingly.
For a brand split pay-per-view, this is actually a very stacked card. This is a SummerSlam-esque type of card. And once you add the SmackDown matches to it for SummerSlam, that could be fantastic. But what I'm afraid is going to happen is Raw is going to get 80% of the matches on SummerSlam, just like they did on WrestleMania this year. SmackDown was just kind of the redheaded stepchild and sort of got booted to the curb and got a couple of good matches, but nothing of huge importance. But I'm excited for the old Great Balls of Fire, Jerry Lee Lewis. May he rest in peace, even though he's not dead.
But he's just having trouble sleeping. You have to check. You got to check on Wikipedia when he comes up. Kind of like, is Jerry Lee Lewis still alive? And you're like, oh, he is, huh?
There you go.
Yeah. I always enjoy those when having the conversations with the wife and you have to look up if somebody's still alive or dead or not. That's
yes,
maybe not the best sign, but it is what it is. Great Balls of Fire. It'll be something. We'll be back here, myself, Mr. Raj Giri, Mr. Matt Morgan, to talk about everything that happens immediately after ends on the East Coast. Samoa Joe or Brock Lesnar, who do you think is going to win? Dennis?
I'm rooting for Samoa Joe, but they're not going to waste Brock Lesnar's title run yet because it's, they pay him per appearance. So I'm going on a limb. I'm staying Samoa Joe.
Brock Lesnar in about 10 minutes. Hopefully they give him some time, make Joe look good, but I don't think there's much of a chance that they let Lesnar lose here.
We shall see. Could be great if he did. What if Paul Heyman turns on Brock? And that's the key. So they keep Brock looking strong, but
wow.
Samoa Joe pulls off a win. Stranger things have happened. It is the WWE. We'll be curious to see how all that goes. Cool, guys. So I think that about covers it for this edition of the Wrestling Inc. podcast. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Dennis, where can people find you on the interwebs?
If you're on Twitter, Dennis77Farrell, Farrell, you can send me a Facebook friend request. PD Williams, former X Division champion, and myself, we do our podcast here, too, called The Wrestling Perspective. Tune in. We're going to try to do new things on maybe once a month. We're going to post out a phone number, and you can actually call into the podcast and be a part of it. So follow me or PD to get that phone number whenever we decide to do that.
And that's a really fun show, guys. You really need to check that out. PD has some really cool stories, some good experiences. So that's a really fun show. But you guys can find me at knockdown_radio. Hang out with me on Twitter during the main shows, and follow me on the NXT viewing party tonight.
Cool, guys. And I did just check. So for people that were wondering, both Jerry Lee Lewis and Jerry Lewis still alive. So I saved you all a Google search right there. Of course, I'm Glenn Rubenstein. Until next time, folks, on behalf of myself, Mr. Chris Callicutt, and Mr. Dennis Farrell, we'll see you back here on the Wrestling Inc. podcast. Take care.